The day humanity learned they were not alone in the galaxy started like any other. On a warm June morning in 2157, strange signals appeared on Earth's deep space monitoring stations. Within hours, a massive ship entered orbit around Earth. Panic gave way to wonder as the visitors announced themselves as representatives of the Galactic Council, a union of 27 spacefaring species. Ambassador John Miller adjusted his tie as he prepared to board the shuttle that would take him to the Council's diplomatic vessel. At 53, with gray streaking his brown hair, Miller had not expected to become humanity's first representative to alien life. "Are you sure we're ready for this?" asked Captain Lisa Ward of the Earth Defense Fleet. Her face showed concern as she walked beside him toward the shuttle. "Ready or not, they're here," Miller replied. "Better to talk than hide." The council delegation awaited them in a vast chamber with curved walls that shimmered with an opal-like glow. The aliens varied in shape and size. Some looked almost human, while others resembled nothing Earth scientists had ever imagined. At the center stood the Sarlaxians, tall beings with 4 arms and skin that shifted colors as they moved. Humans. The lead Sarlaxian spoke through a translation device. "I am High Counselor Vexnar. We welcome Earth to the galactic community." Miller stepped forward. "On behalf of Earth, we are honored to meet you and hope this marks the beginning of peaceful relations." The meeting lasted for hours. The council members explained the structure of galactic politics, trade routes, and the laws that governed interstellar relations. But as the conversation continued, Miller began to notice something troubling. "So to be clear," he said, "you're offering us protectorate status, not full membership in the council." "Full membership must be earned," Vexnar replied. "It may take centuries for a species as young as yours to qualify." Captain Ward frowned. "And these restrictions on our ships? You're saying we can't expand beyond our current colonies?" A smaller alien with translucent skin answered. "It is for your own protection. Many dangers exist in space that you are not prepared to face." Later, aboard their shuttle returning to Earth, Ward couldn't contain her frustration. "They're treating us like children. Did you see the technology they're refusing to share? The medical advancements alone could save millions of lives." Miller sighed. "I don't like it either, but what choice do we have? Their ships could destroy our entire fleet in minutes if they wanted to." Over the next weeks, Earth's leaders debated the Council's terms. Some argued for rejection, but fear won out. Humanity officially accepted protectorate status, along with the strict limitations it imposed. 6 months later, Miller stood in the United Nations Hall as the agreement was signed. The restrictions were significant. No expansion beyond current colonies, limited weapons technology, and Council oversight of all human space activities. In exchange, the Council offered protection and limited access to alien knowledge. As the ceremony concluded, Miller noticed a group of aliens he hadn't seen before watching from the sidelines. They had dark, leathery skin and sharp teeth that showed when they spoke. "Who are they?" he asked a nearby Sarlaxian aide. "Draveri representatives, a proud warrior race. Do not concern yourself with them." That night, as Miller looked up at the stars from his apartment balcony, he couldn't shake a feeling of unease. Captain Ward joined him, her uniform crisp despite the late hour. "We've made a terrible mistake," she said quietly. "It was the only option," Miller replied, though his voice lacked conviction. "No, there's always another option." Ward's eyes remained fixed on the stars. "And I fear we'll learn that lesson the hard way." Neither of them knew that at that very moment, the Draveri were already planning their first raids on distant human mining operations. The Council had promised protection, but soon humanity would discover just how empty those promises were. 5 years passed since Earth joined the Galactic Council as a protectorate. What started as an uneasy partnership had grown worse with each passing month. The promises of protection proved hollow, especially for the outer colonies. Security Chief Ethan Brooks stood in the ruins of what had once been a mining outpost on Proxima Centauri. The attack had left little standing. Scorched metal and broken equipment were scattered across the landscape. This was the third raid this month. Same pattern as the others, Brooks said into his recorder. Precision strikes on defense systems, then general destruction of equipment and supplies. 12 workers missing, presumed captured. He paused, looking at a dark stain on the ground. 3 confirmed dead. His assistant, a young officer named Julie Patel, approached with a damaged data pad. "Sir, I found this. It has partial footage of the attackers." The grainy video showed ships with a distinctive spiked design. Treveri Raiders, again. Back on Earth, Brooks delivered his report to a joint meeting of Earth's government and council representatives. The room was tense, human officials on one side, aliens on the other. That makes 27 confirmed Treveri attacks on human settlements in the past year, Brooks concluded. "We've documented everything according to council protocols. We request immediate action under the protection clause of our treaty." Across the table, the council diplomat Zex Tor made a dismissive gesture with one of his 4 arms. "We have reviewed your previous reports and find the evidence unconvincing. These could be accidents or the work of human pirates." President Howard slammed his hand on the table. "Human pirates with Treveri ships? That's absurd. The Council requires absolute proof before intervening in what might be merely criminal activity rather than species aggression," Zex Tor replied. As the meeting ended without resolution, Brooks received an urgent message from Susan Kelly, the administrator of the Proxima Centauri colony. "They're back." Her voice shook as she spoke through the static-filled transmission. "Bigger force this time. Our defenses won't hold. We've sent distress signals to the Council outpost in the next system, but they claim they can't respond without authorization." Brooks rushed the message to military command. General Patricia Moore authorized an immediate relief mission, but it would take days for human ships to reach Proxima Centauri, even at top speed. The colony's fate depended on Council intervention. When the Council representative was informed, he cited procedural requirements that prevented immediate action. "We must convene a special committee to review the situation. It is unfortunate, but these processes cannot be rushed." 3 days later, Brooks stood in the colony's central plaza, now a makeshift hospital and morgue. The Treveri had hit New Montana, the largest settlement in the Proxima system. Over 1,200 people were dead. Thousands more were injured. The Council peacekeepers had arrived hours after the Treveri left. "They could have saved us," a wounded colonist told Brooks. "Their outpost is less than an hour away at full speed." That evening, a transmission from Earth brought more bad news. The Council had officially classified the attack as a regional security incident rather than an act of war, limiting the response options. Brooks met with Colony Administrator Kelly in what remained of her office. The wall behind her desk was gone, revealing the purple sky of Proxima Centauri. "We've been abandoned," Kelly said quietly. 5 years of following their rules, limiting our weapons as they demanded, trusting their protection. And now this." Brooks looked through the broken wall at the long line of body bags. "No, not abandoned," he replied, his voice hard with anger. "Betrayed." As night fell, a Council ship landed at the colony. Instead of aid, it brought inspectors to ensure humans weren't building unauthorized defenses in response to the attack. The Council's message was clear. Human lives mattered less than maintaining control. Science Officer Kevin West worked late into the night in his lab aboard the Earth Defense Station Orion. For months, he had been analyzing communication patterns between Council ships. What began as simple curiosity had turned into an obsession after the New Montana massacre. Tonight, everything changed. His decryption program finally broke through the Council's security codes. Data flooded his screen. Messages between Sarlaxian officials and Treveri commanders. "No," Kevin whispered, his face pale in the blue light of his screen. "They wouldn't." But the evidence was clear. The Sarlaxians had been sharing Earth's defense plans, colony locations, and patrol schedules with the Treveri. They knew about the attacks all along. They had helped plan them. The next morning, Admiral Frank Howard's face turned dark with anger as Kevin presented his findings to Earth's military leadership. "Are you absolutely certain?" the Admiral asked, his voice tight. Kevin nodded. "The encryption was complex, but the content is unmistakable. Look at this message from 3 days before the New Montana attack." The screen showed a star map of human colony defenses with key weaknesses highlighted. At the bottom was a message in Sarlaxian script, translated by Kevin's program. "Strike here. Minimal resistance expected. Council forces will delay response by 6 standard hours." Admiral Howard slammed his fist on the table. "They've been playing us for fools while our people die." General Patricia Moore, who had been silently watching, spoke up. "This changes everything." She pressed a button on her wrist device. "Secure the room." Metal shutters slid over the windows. Signal jammers activated. "What I'm about to say doesn't leave this room," she continued. "For the past year, we've been secretly building ships and weapons beyond Council restrictions. Project Phoenix." Kevin stared at her in shock. "That's a direct violation of our treaty." "A treaty with those who are actively helping murder our people," Admiral Howard replied. "I authorized it myself." General Moore brought up new images on the screen. Hidden shipyards in the asteroid belt, underground weapons facilities on Mars, thousands of soldiers training in secret bases on Earth's moon. "We have 50 warships ready now. Another 100 will be complete within 6 months, she explained. "And that's not all." She nodded to a man sitting quietly in the corner. "This is Daniel Thompson. He leads our engineering team." Daniel stepped forward. He was younger than Kevin expected, maybe early 30s, with tired eyes that suggested long nights of work. "We've developed shield technology that surpasses anything the Council has shown us," Daniel explained. "We reversed engineered damaged Treveri ships from the raids. Then we improved on their designs." He brought up technical schematics on the screen. "Our ships are smaller but faster, our weapons more precise, and our shields can withstand 3 times the firepower of standard Council vessels." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had been preparing for war without the Council's knowledge. The silence was broken by an urgent message. A Council inspection team had discovered one of the hidden shipyards during a routine scan of the asteroid belt. "They're demanding we dismantle all vessels and submit to increased oversight," the messenger reported. "They've issued an ultimatum: disarm or face sanctions." Admiral Howard looked around the room. "It's time to decide. Do we bow down again, or do we stand up for ourselves?" As if in answer, another message came through. This one from a human spy within the Council archives. Attached were hundreds of classified Council documents spanning centuries. They revealed a pattern. The Council had systematically kept dozens of species weak and dependent, just as they were doing to humans. Those who resisted disappeared from galactic records. Kevin scrolled through the files with growing horror. They never intended to treat us as equals. This was their plan all along. General Moore's expression hardened. "Then it's time for a new plan. Our plan." As they talked into the night, none of them noticed a small Council probe watching the station from a distance, recording everything and sending it back to Sarlaxian High Command. The day that humanity lost all faith in the Galactic Council began like any other. Colony Supervisor Andrew Clark was reviewing harvest reports on Europa Station when the alarm sounded. 7 human colonies across different star systems were under attack simultaneously. "It's a coordinated strike," Clark said as he watched the emergency signals light up across the display. "They're hitting everything at once." Europa Station's defense grid activated automatically. Clark ordered all civilians to the underground shelters as the first Treveri ships appeared on the scanners. "Send the distress signal to the Council outpost," he told his communications officer, "and get me a direct line to Earth Command." On the colony world of New Titan, communications specialist Michelle Torres crouched behind a fallen wall as Draveri ground forces moved through the settlement. Her recording device captured everything: the precision of the attack, the systematic destruction of defense systems. Then she heard something that made her blood run cold. Two Draveri commanders speaking in their harsh language, unaware of her presence. Her translator picked up fragments. Council ships, delay as promised, humans defenseless. Take what we want. Torres activated her emergency beacon, transmitting the recording directly to Earth. She had to make sure someone heard this, proof that the Council was actively coordinating with the attackers. Across human space, the attacks followed the same pattern. Council forces that should have responded were mysteriously delayed or diverted. By the time any help arrived, the Draveri were gone, leaving behind devastation. The death toll mounted by the hour: 5,000 in the Ta Ceti system, 8,000 at the research station orbiting Epsilon Eridani, nearly 15,000 on New Titan. In total, 30,000 human lives lost in a single day. On Earth, the United Defense Command Center was in chaos as reports flooded in. Admiral Howard stared at the casualty numbers with a face like stone. "Where are the Council peacekeepers?" President Catherine Russell demanded. "Exactly where the Draveri want them to be," Howard replied bitterly. "Away from our colonies." As the scale of the disaster became clear, Earth launched relief ships to the affected colonies. Commander Nickel Bennett led the medical fleet toward the hardest-hit areas. "We have thousands of wounded waiting for evacuation," Bennett reported as her ships approached New Titan. "We need to establish a medical perimeter immediately." Before her fleet could reach orbit, 3 Council vessels appeared, blocking their path. "This is Council Enforcement Vessel Righteous Judgment," came the transmission. "This system is now under special jurisdiction due to security concerns. No military vessels are permitted to enter." "We're a medical fleet," Bennett protested. "There are wounded civilians down there." "Your vessels are classified as dual purpose under Council regulations. Military restrictions apply. You will withdraw or be fired upon." Bennett's hands tightened on the command console. "There are children dying down there." The Council ship responded by powering up its weapons. After a tense standoff, Bennett was forced to retreat. Her medical ships watched helplessly from a distance as Council vessels finally entered orbit around New Titan, not to provide aid, but to secure the area against unauthorized human military activity. Similar scenes played out at other colonies. Human aid blocked, Council control tightened, survivors left waiting for help that couldn't reach them. Andrew Clark, who had survived the attack on Europa Station, recorded a message that soon went viral across Earth and all human settlements. "I watched Council ships arrive exactly 20 minutes after the Draveri left. Not during the attack when we begged for help. After. They knew when it was safe to come. They knew when the killing was done. They're not our protectors. They're our jailers, and they just opened our cells to the wolves." As darkness fell across the devastated colonies, a new feeling spread among humans everywhere. It wasn't fear anymore. It was rage. 3 days after the devastating attacks, Earth's leaders gathered at the lunar base for an emergency meeting. Security was tight. No alien representatives were invited. President Catherine Russell stood at the head of the table, her face showing the strain of sleepless nights. "We've lost over 30,000 people," she began, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. "Our colonies are in ruins. Our relief efforts are being blocked. This situation is no longer tenable." The room was silent as everyone absorbed her words. Military officers, colony representatives, and government officials all knew what she meant. Something had to change. Admiral Howard displayed Michelle Torres's recording of the Draveri commanders discussing Council coordination. Next came Andrew Clark's viral message from Europa Station. Finally, the evidence Kevin West had uncovered showing years of Council manipulation. "We now have proof the Council has been working with the Draveri against us," Howard said. "They've betrayed every promise of protection." Dr. Alan Peterson, head of the Xenorchaeology department, raised his hand. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes. "There's more," he said quietly. "My team has been translating ancient records we found on Proxima before the attacks. They show this isn't the first time the Council has done this. For thousands of years, they've followed the same pattern with dozens of species." He projected images of the ancient text onto the main screen. "First, they offer protection and impose restrictions. Then they allow controlled attacks to keep the species weak and dependent. Any civilization that grows too strong or independent simply disappears from galactic records." President Russell's expression hardened. "So what are our options?" General Moore stepped forward. "We have three choices. First, we can continue as we are, watching our people die while pretending the Council will eventually protect us. Second, we can openly confront the Council with our evidence and demand justice, knowing they control the system. Or third," she paused, and the room grew tense. "Third, we can withdraw from all agreements with the Council and stand on our own." As if on cue, the communication system chimed. A Council ambassador appeared on the screen, his 4 arms moving in agitation. "President Russell, we have detected unauthorized military gatherings on your moon. This violates Section 12 of our protection agreement. You will disband immediately and submit to inspection." Russell stared at the alien face for a long moment before responding. "No." The ambassador blinked all 4 of his eyes. "I don't believe you understand the severity." "We understand perfectly," Russell interrupted. "Your protection is a lie. Your treaties are traps. Your promises are empty." The ambassador's skin changed color, showing anger. "This is dangerous talk, President Russell. The Council demands your immediate compliance with disarmament procedures. Further human military development will not be tolerated." The leaders around the table exchanged glances. This was the moment of decision. Russell stood tall. "The death of 30,000 humans will not be tolerated. The betrayal of trust will not be tolerated. The manipulation of our species will not be tolerated." She looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each person present. When she saw their resolve, she turned back to the screen. "Earth hereby withdraws from all treaties and agreements with the Galactic Council, effective immediately." The ambassador's face showed shock, then contempt. "You have made a grave error. No species survives outside Council protection. Enforcement vessels are already on their way to your colonies." Russell nodded to Lieutenant Ben Carter, who had been waiting quietly for this signal. He left the room to begin a mission that had been planned for days, extracting all human diplomats from Council headquarters before they could become hostages. "My people are coming home, Ambassador," Russell said firmly. "All of them. And when they're safe, we'll show you exactly what humanity can do without your protection." As the ambassador began to threaten consequences, Russell cut the transmission. The room erupted in tense discussion. There was no going back now. Humanity had chosen independence, no matter the cost. General Patricia Moore stood in the command center of the hidden asteroid base as Operation Phoenix began. All around her, displays lit up as humanity's secret fleet powered up for the first time. 150 warships, hidden for years in asteroid hollows and underground bases across the solar system, now revealed themselves. "All ships report ready status," her aide announced. Moore nodded. "It's time to show the galaxy what happens when you push humanity too far." The first test came sooner than expected. A Xarlaxian enforcement fleet entered the Tau Ceti system, where one of humanity's most damaged colonies struggled to recover from the Treveri attacks. The Xarlaxians brought no aid, only demands for surrender and compliance. "Humanity must be pacified," the Xarlaxian commander broadcast. "Resistance is futile and will only bring more suffering." The colonists, still burying their dead, watched in despair as the alien ships filled their sky. Then something unexpected happened. Space seemed to ripple as 30 human vessels dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They were smaller than the Council ships, but sleek and deadly looking. Commander Jason Grant's voice cut through all communication channels. "This is the Earth Defense Fleet. You are in human space without permission. You will leave immediately." The Carlaxian commander laughed. "Your species has no authority here. The Council rules this sector. Your primitive ships are no match for." His words cut off as the human fleet opened fire. The battle that followed shocked the Council forces. Human shields absorbed hits that should have destroyed their vessels. Human weapons cut through alien defenses that had been considered impenetrable. In 20 minutes, it was over. The Carlaxian fleet retreated, leaving behind disabled ships and stunned survivors. Similar scenes played out across human-settled systems as the Phoenix fleet revealed itself. News spread quickly through Council space. The supposedly primitive humans had built advanced warships in secret, and they were winning. On Earth, President Russell addressed humanity. "For years, we played by their rules while our people died. No more. Today we show the galaxy that humans will never again bow to oppression." The Phoenix fleet's next target was Boulder, the main Draveri staging area, where they prepared for raids on vulnerable species. Commander Grant led the attack personally. "These are the monsters who killed our families," he told his crew. "Today we bring justice." The battle was fierce but one-sided. Human ships, built with technology reverse-engineered from Draveri wrecks and improved by human ingenuity, systematically disabled the enemy vessels. The Draveri, used to attacking the defenseless, found themselves outmatched. Within hours, the staging area was under human control. Thousands of captives from various species were freed from Draveri slave pens, including hundreds of humans taken during previous raids. The Council, shocked by the sudden change in power, called an emergency session. For the first time in their history, they faced a species that had broken free of their control and was winning. "We must negotiate," one council member suggested. "They are merely humans," another argued. "Their victory is temporary." The oldest Sarlaxian, Grand Counselor Zexmar, shook his head. "You don't understand what we've done. We pushed them too far. We killed too many of their kind." He activated a communication channel to Earth. President Russell's face appeared on the screen, calm and determined. "Humans," Zexmar began, "this conflict benefits no one. The Council calls for immediate negotiations and peace talks." Russell's response was brief. "You had your chance for peace." As the Council debated their next move, reports came in from across the galaxy. Human ships were making contact with other species that had suffered under Council rule. The Tellarites, the Vega Collective, and others were joining with humanity. For the first time in thousands of years, the Galactic Council faced something truly frightening. A coalition of the oppressed, led by the most underestimated species of all. 2 months after humanity's rebellion began, the galaxy looked very different. The human-led coalition had liberated 17 worlds that had long suffered under Council oppression. Each victory brought more allies to their cause. Dr. Laura Phillips stood aboard the Alliance flagship Freedom as it orbited a newly freed world. Once a simple scientist studying alien cultures, she now led the information campaign that was helping to break the Council's power. "Ready to broadcast, Doctor," her assistant said. Laura nodded and stepped in front of the camera. Her face would be seen on thousands of worlds across Council space. "People of the galaxy," she began, "for too long, the Tarlaxians and their Council have claimed to bring peace and order. Today, we share the truth." The broadcast showed evidence collected from Council archives, secret plans to keep younger species weak, records of deliberately arranged conflicts, proof of resources stolen from countless worlds. "This isn't protection. It's control. It's theft. It's enslavement," Laura continued. "Humanity stands with all who wish to be free." The broadcast couldn't be blocked by Council censors. Human engineers had found ways around their communication controls, just as they had overcome their weapons. On the Council's central world, panic spread among the ruling Sarlaxians. Several mid-tier species that had long been loyal Council members, the Mendari with their crystal technology, the Rocks with their massive trading fleets, announced they were leaving the Council to join the Human Alliance. "Our entire system is collapsing," Council Security Chief Forlack reported. "The humans share everything they learn. Each species they free joins their fight and brings new knowledge." In the Council's Grand Chamber, the mood was grim. For thousands of years, they had ruled through secrets and carefully controlled information. Now those secrets were exposed, and their power was slipping away. Admiral Howard led the human fleet in a daring attack on a key Council military base. The battle was the largest yet, with over 300 ships on each side. By all traditional calculations, the humans should have been overwhelmed. Instead, they achieved another victory. The Council's military commander, General Dravnik, sent an unexpected message after retreating. "I wish to discuss terms of surrender," he told Admiral Howard. "Not for all Council forces, but for my fleet. We were told humans were primitive savages. This was a lie, like so many we were told." As Howard negotiated the surrender, Captain Ryan Cooper's scout ships made a crucial discovery in a distant system. Hidden among dead moons orbited a massive space station, the Council's secret weapon facility. "This is where they develop the technology they keep from other species," Cooper reported back to Earth. "And according to our scans, they're building something big, something desperate." President Russell called an emergency meeting of the Alliance leadership. Representatives from 28 species gathered to discuss the discovery. "The Council is losing," Russell said. "But cornered predators are the most dangerous. We need to act quickly." The Tellarite ambassador, his fur bristling with concern, agreed. Their history shows they would rather destroy a species than allow it to surpass them. They've done it before. Plans were made for a joint assault on the secret facility. Every Alliance member contributed ships and soldiers. This would be the largest space battle in known galactic history. As preparations continued, the Draveri made their own decision. Abandoned by their Council allies and facing defeat, they retreated to their home systems, taking their remaining fleets with them. "Let them go," Admiral Howard told his captains who wanted to pursue. "They're not the true enemy. They were just the Council's weapon against us, as they've been against others. Our fight is with those who aimed that weapon." The Alliance fleet assembled near the edge of Council space. Thousands of ships from dozens of species, all united by their desire for freedom. At their center flew the human vessels that had started this revolution. Cooper looked out at the massive fleet from his scout ship. "I never thought I'd see this," he said to his crew. The entire galaxy, working together. His second-in-command smiled. All it took was for someone to stand up first. 6 months after humanity's stand against the Galactic Council began, representatives from 35 species gathered on Earth. The Great Hall of the United Nations had been expanded to accommodate beings of all shapes and sizes. Some breathed different air mixtures, others needed special gravity supports, but all had come with a common purpose. The war was over. The final battle at the Council's secret weapon facility had ended with the Coalition's victory. The Tarlaxians had tried to activate a super weapon designed to sterilize entire systems, but Captain Cooper's scouts had discovered it in time. The Coalition fleet destroyed the weapon and captured the facility intact, along with all its advanced technology. After that defeat, the remaining Council forces surrendered. The galactic order that had stood for thousands of years had fallen in less than a year. Now came the harder part, building something better. Admiral Howard stood at the entrance to the hall, watching the delegates arrive. Many were from worlds that had been enemies just months ago. Yet here they were, talking, collaborating, even laughing together. "Did you ever think you'd see this day?" asked Elizabeth Taylor, the former administrator of one of the destroyed colonies. She had lost her family in the attacks but had channeled her grief into planning for a better future. Howard shook his head. "Never. When we started, I just wanted to protect our people. I never imagined we'd end up remaking the galaxy." President Russell called the meeting to order. The hall fell silent as she took the central podium. "For too long, the galaxy lived under the control of those who believed domination was the natural order," she began. "Today, we start a new chapter, one where all species have a voice. The main screens activated, showing the official dissolution of the Galactic Council. In its place would stand the new Galactic Federation, with fundamentally different principles. Elizabeth Taylor presented the framework she had developed with input from all member species. "The foundation of our federation will be equality and mutual defense," she explained. "No species will rule over others. All will have representation. Knowledge and technology will be shared, not hoarded." The delegates discussed details late into the night. There were disagreements, but they were resolved through compromise and respect. Concepts that had been absent from galactic politics for millennia. To everyone's surprise, a Xarlaxian delegation requested permission to address the gathering. They entered cautiously, aware of the hostility their species now faced. Their leader stepped forward. "For thousands of years, my people believed that keeping others weak made us strong. We were wrong. In just 6 months, your coalition accomplished more than our council did in centuries. We ask not for leadership or power, but for the chance to learn a better way." The hall was silent as the delegates considered this request. It was Dr. Laura Phillips who finally responded. "The very purpose of our federation is to move beyond the cycle of dominance and revenge," she said. "If the Xarlaxians wish to join as equals, not rulers, they should have that chance." After much debate, the gathering agreed. The Xarlaxians would join the Federation with the same rights and responsibilities as any other member. As the conference ended, Admiral Howard stood on the observation deck with representatives from several species that had once been bitter enemies. Together, they watched Earth's sunset paint the sky in brilliant colors. "The price was high," said the Tellarite ambassador, thinking of all those lost in the conflict. "Too high," Howard agreed. "But now we honor them by building something worthy of their sacrifice." A young aide approached with news that the first joint scientific mission, staffed by members of 12 different species, was ready to launch. Their goal was to explore regions of the galaxy that even the old council had never reached. Howard smiled as he watched the delegates celebrate this milestone. Humanity had entered the galactic stage as a protected species, became warriors when necessary, and now would help lead a new era of cooperation. The stars no longer seemed threatening, but full of promise, a promise that would be kept this time.